From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is agDay.
Tariffs and trade weigh on the start of a holiday week.
Now we're in the crunch time. This is tariff week, where the pressure mounts each day.
In agribusiness, peanut prices.
Last year we had some great prices. We have $4.50, $4.75 plus in some areas.
The Dairy Report talks Class 7 pricing out of Canada. And this educational dairy isn't immune to the margin pressures of falling markets.
agDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Grains under pressure to start the week as the threat of tariffs on U.S. ag goods continues to rise. Traders say uncertainty lingering as both Mexico and China threaten to pose more tariffs on U.S. ag products by the end of the week. The move in response to the U.S. own tariffs on steel and aluminum. Now, Canada, they're already cracking down, tacking on $12.6 billion in tariffs on U.S. products on Sunday. On the list, orange juice, beef products, steel, and aluminum. Retaliatory tariffs from Canada, Mexico, and China combined could tally up to nearly $50 billion.
So, no, we're in abeyance here. And this is why the market is in extreme anxiety over these things, rightfully so, because they could really start hurting. But now we're going to see if Trump follows through on implementing the sanctions.
Mexico also considering a second wave of tariffs targeting some $3 billion worth of U.S. goods. Now on the list, cheese, apples, pork, hams, shoulders, and corn. China's retaliation set to take effect Friday. It's expected to deliver a 25% duty on $34 billion worth of U.S. goods, including soybeans and cars.
We sold China near 1.2 billion bushels of soybeans last year. That was 27% of all the beans we produced in this country. So their restrictions are really going to have an impact.
This occurs the same day the U.S. is anticipated to roll out its own 25% duty on about $34 billion worth of Chinese exports. Meanwhile, Mexico's newly elected president appears ready to renegotiate the North American Free Trade Agreement with President Trump. Andrés Manuel López Obrador will become Mexico's next president, having garnered 53% of the vote Sunday. López Obrador says he supports reaching a deal on NAFTA. The talks have stalled in recent months. He told reporters that he will respect the current team of negotiators and let them continue representing Mexico until he takes office December 1st. Now, President Trump saying over the weekend he's not happy with how renegotiations are going, saying he won't sign a new NAFTA agreement until after the midterm elections. From Bloomberg, the administration walking back comments on withdrawing from the World Trade Organization. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross saying it's, quote, a little premature as the administration is looking at ways to improve the global trade body. Ross saying the WTO knows some reforms are needed. Axios is reporting that the White House is considering leaving the trade organization, saying it interferes with sovereign trade matters and that China failed to open up its economy as promised when joining in 2001.
Does the president want to withdraw from the WTO?
I think that the president's expressed frustrations with international organizations from a sovereignty perspective, but I think that the president also believes that there's extensive tariffs assessed on American products overseas, that it's not a reciprocal tariff.
Let me re-ask, is the president considering withdrawing from the WTO?
I'm not familiar with any plans right now.
But he is frustrated with the WTO.
That's fair to say.
Meanwhile, European Union leaders met last week, stressing their resolve to stay unified in the face of President Trump's trade push.
We have to show that we do exist, that we are united, and that we are presenting and member states and the Commission and the President of the Council exactly the same view. So we should de-dramatize these relations. We need these relations. The US need these relations. I'm not sure that we will find an agreement between the US and the European Union, but we'll try.
President Juncker saying he plans to travel to Washington later this month. Also in Washington, the EPA issuing a proposed rule Friday that clarifies the administration's plans to repeal the much-maligned Waters of the U.S. rule. The language says the EPA is proposing to permanently and completely repeal that 2015 WOTUS rule and keep the 2015 regulatory framework in place while working on a new definition. Mike Hoffman's keeping the crop conversation rolling. Joins us now with a look at today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. Let's continue with wheat. In fact, our July Facebook cover photo contest winner is Brooke Sprung. She sent us this great shot of wheat waiting harvest from Chillicothe, Missouri. That's in Henry County. Brooke wins an agDay hat for her submission. And this photo comes from St. Joe County, Indiana. Thunderstorms popped up over the weekend as the area saw temperatures in the low 90s. This field wasn't planted until June. It's probably not going to make it to knee high by the 4th of July. The area has seen plenty of rain this season, but the more mature corn in the area may face these higher temperatures during pollination. Now, taking a look at the wind speed forecast, you can see the north central plains and West Texas a little bit breezy this morning. Turns windy in the west, especially from Wyoming down into southern Arizona, and a little bit breezy across the plains, southern Mississippi Valley. And as we head into the day tomorrow, it's mainly going to be the northern plains to start the day, and then we turn windy up and down the plains and parts of the west as we head through the afternoon. We'll have your forecast coming up in just a little while, but first, here are some hometown temps.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
When we come back, we'll go south to check on peanut progress and market expectations with Ashley Arrington at the Agribusiness Desk. And later, this educational dairy in Michigan is facing changes due to low milk prices. Betsy Gibbon reports from Andrews University today on In the Country. In agribusiness, let's see how markets started the holiday week. For that, we head to the floor of the CME in Chicago.
Soybean was sliding again. That China is preparing to move ahead with the tariffs, and that's got everyone a little bit nervous, and a lot of the traders have really moved to the sidelines. The uncertainty has got people very, very worried. The market was down a lot, tried to come back some, but then started to slip again. And traders are really shrugging off even the weather uncertainty, which normally would be a positive for soybeans. Corn also drops. It was favorable weather conditions is really bearish for those futures. Wheat, speaking of falling, wheat fell a lot today. The downtrend really does remain intact. Interestingly enough, we opened up almost 14 cents and ended up down 15 cents. So it was a big trading day in a big wide range, but definitely worked back to the downside. So it took back all of Friday's gains. That's all from the floor at the CME Group here in Chicago. I'm Virginia McGathy.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk today, we have Ashley Arrington with Agri Authority. Let's talk about the peanut crop down in the south. You spent a lot of time in Georgia in that area. Some of the pictures I've seen, peanuts don't look too bad.
Well, what happened was last year we had some great prices. We had $4.50, $4.75 plus in some areas, and then we had a bumper crop. I'm talking absolute bumper in almost every area. But then this year, since we had the bumper crop, huge supply, we've seen prices slip. A little under 400, but again, now instead of the bumper crop this year, the wetness.
We've had wetness, okay.
Late planting all over the board, from Georgia over to Alabama. We're seeing some disease in some places. People are still planting in some areas. So the crop is going to be less than stellar this year. So I'm kind of expecting cash prices to actually be above offered contracted prices at the beginning of the year because of the less than stellar crop we're looking at in the field right now.
Yeah, interesting. So the pictures that we've seen are probably some of the best looking crop out there because everybody else is struggling.
Yeah, some people got early planted and got lucky and didn't get hit as hard by the rains. But the area that I'm in that's really peanut heavy has had to replant, got drowned out, and the ones that did survive, they're not looking the best. Everybody I said it looks really poor.
How did acreage fare? Because we had strong cotton prices, and I'm guessing some of that acreage changes between the two.
Yeah, well, in the South, a lot of times if you plant cotton, you plant peanuts in a lot of areas, not all, of course, but we have a rotation. So some of it didn't change because of rotation, but of course we did see a lot more go into cotton than peanuts, but I don't think it was overwhelmingly so.
Yeah. So as you look out toward the end of this year, what do you expect when we get toward harvest for peanuts?
I'm expecting to see the prices go up. I expect, you know, what's contracted is contracted. That's what you get paid for. But anything that a farmer has over-contracted, I think cash prices may be above the contracted price. So they'll be happy to have some over-contracted this year.
All right. Well, I think that would be great. All right. Appreciate it, Ashley. Thank you for being here. We'll be back with more Ag Day.
For market insights and farm debt analysis, contact Ashley Arrington at 706-699-4543 or visit agraauthority.com.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Here, meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, we're looking at this low down there on the Gulf Coast, and it's putting down some rain.
And when it's over the Gulf, it's always a slight chance it becomes a tropical storm of some type. Either way, it has a bunch of tropical moisture. We started talking about this one late last week and over the weekend on U.S. Farm Report, if you watch that show, but it's expected to slowly meander westward into south central Texas in about 48 hours, and from there, you never know. There's no jet stream pattern that's going to pull it north necessarily, but if it does get slightly pulled north and then turns northeast, we'll just have to kind of watch where that moisture goes. Other than that, we're looking at kind of a stalled out front across the Ohio River Valley. There'll be some pop-up showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon hours. High pressure in the southeast, keeping things mainly dry. It's very muggy though, so some afternoon thunderstorms in a few spots possible. Same idea in the southwest, although we haven't really seen the monsoon moisture get going quite yet. Heading into the day tomorrow, then we'll watch a northern system coming into the northern plains with some showers and thunderstorms in that area. Very heavy rains around the Houston area to start the day tomorrow. And then you can see that storm system continues to go west for now. Again, it's very tough to know where it's going from there just because the jet stream isn't around to really pull it northward, as you'll see. And you can see the warm front now. It's going to start to bring back some warmer, more humid air into the Ohio Valley, southwestern Great Lakes as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So precipitation estimate past 24 hours. We've seen some areas from the Gulf Coast all the way into the eastern Great Lakes and the northeast, a few spots across the northern plains. Adding in the next 36 hours, you can see that moisture. That's actually more than a half a foot showing up on our computer model in parts of coastal Louisiana, far southeastern Texas. So we'll be watching that, and some decent moisture in places across the northern plains, as you can see there. Checking out temperatures, it's still going to be very hot. Central and southern plains, highs in the 90s in many areas. Low temperatures tonight, very muggy, upper 70s and 80s across the central and southern plains states. Pretty muggy into the Ohio River Valley, southwestern Great Lakes once again. And you can see the 90s basically from about Omaha southward, with a few 100s in the desert southwest during the day tomorrow. Here's the jet stream then. Start off with a big ridge in the east. That's where the heat has been. It kind of retrogrades then back to the west. We have a trough coming in to cool things down for this weekend. Heat may come back occasionally, but I think what we're going into here is a ridge in the west and troughiness occasionally in the east, keeping things from getting too hot. But we'll have to wait and see. That could be the rest of the summer. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Julesburg, Colorado, hazy sunshine, hot and humid, high of 95 degrees. Vicksburg, Mississippi, muggy with showers and thunderstorms, high of 89. And Portland, Maine, a mixture of clouds and sunshine, high temperature around 80 degrees.
Coming up next, we'll check on dairy markets, the dairy report after the break, and later we're off to Michigan to see how one educational dairy is being done in by prices. Government leaders in Canada's largest dairy producing province wonder if the nation should reconsider its Class 7 milk price policy. That policy has been blamed for some of the dairy problems in this country. Quebec Premier Philippe Couillard said in an interview with Bloomberg News that the Class 7 policy and not the overall supply management system seems to be the main sticking point with the U.S. Canada's Class 7 policy was rolled out last year. It makes it cheaper for Canadian processors to buy domestic supplies of ultra-filtered milk used to boost protein content in cheese and yogurt. Couillard says if that's the main issue, Canada should look for ways to separate Class 7 from supply management. Now, according to our reporting partners over at Milk Business, USDA and other analysis say if tariffs from Mexico and China go into effect, it could take more than $1 off milk prices in the second half of 2018. Analysts with INTLFC Stone estimate that tariffs would cut U.S. exports by about 41,000 tanker loads per year. That's 113 loads per day. Now, 2 weeks ago, USDA was projecting an average all milk price of $16.80 per hundredweight for all of 2018, which is 50 cents per hundredweight lower than last year. And according to a new Iowa State survey on land ownership, nearly 60% of the farmland in the state now owned by people who don't actively farm. About a third don't have any farming experience at all, and a quarter of owners are retired farmers. That's according to ISU. The Farmland Ownership Tenure Survey is based on 2012 to 2017. Now, a couple of other notable stats from the survey: 82% of Iowa farmland is owned debt-free, which is much higher than the 62% from back in 1982 and the 78% in 2012. And ownership age is on the rise. People 65 years or older now own 60% of farmland, which is twice the level it was back in 1982. While those younger than 35, they own less than 2% of Iowa farmland. When we come back, a Michigan dairy that's closing its doors.
In the Country, brought to you by Kubota. Check out Kubota's RTV X1140, a rugged utility vehicle with seating for 4. Stop by your local dealer today or visit Kubota.com.
Southwest Michigan is deeply rooted in agriculture, fruits, veggies, and livestock, but despite that diversity, it's not immune to a downturn in the market, like in dairy. As Betsy Gibbon reports, a century-old farm owned by a local college is no longer able to weather the uncertainty in the dairy industry.
Day-to-day dairy operations are powered by routine.
Do a 3 a.m. shift, 11 a.m., and then a 7 p.m.
And 3198, see if that's it.
That rhythm and routine equals success for a dairy farm.
We're preg checking right now, and then all the cows that are open, that don't have a calf, they're getting some kind of a shot to get them to come back into heat again.
The cycle of life over the past few years, global consistency and growing production is causing financial stress, even in Berrien County, Michigan.
But we've been shrinking too, so there's only a few left in our county.
I know of 2 friends and family that had to stop also because of that same reason. So it hits home for me a little bit.
It hits close to home for all of them. Falling milk prices aren't just hurting the average dairy. It's forcing Andrews University to close the doors on its educational dairy too.
Like much of the industry, the dairy at Andrews University has been operating below the cost of production. So much so that the university has decided to close its farm operations the summer of 2019.
I wish that, the decision makers, the board members saw it differently, but we have to think of the overall budget for the university, and I don't want to be selfish, because a lot of people are involved with this, but it's very difficult to see.
The dairy at the university was never designed to be a money maker, but stale financials and stagnant markets are making it impossible to stay open.
Overall, we need about $16 per hundredweight to break even. The reality has been, in the last 2 or 3 years, it's been 13 to 14. We've gone from that to losing between $700,000 and $900,000 per year over the last 3 years.
3 years of piling debt is now high enough to topple a century of milking.
Well, it's very disappointing. It's very sad. It's 111-year history. The dairy industry in general, as you've heard from others, is readjusting.
She would know. She was the first woman to work at the dairy decades ago. Andrews University was founded in Battle Creek, Michigan, later moved to Berrien Springs for more space.
Our history as a university here in Southwest Michigan began in 1901 when we moved here. The farm started the same year, and then 6 years later, the dairy that's behind us was begun. One of the reasons that this spot was chosen was not just it was a great spot for school, it was also a great spot for a farm.
It's hard to know how the facilities at Andrews will look a year from now.
We're working on a plan to see if we can't utilize some of these facilities for other species, llamas or goats and sheep, chickens, ducks.
And how much change will come with closure.
I've been here a total of 22 years come this fall.
But until dairy prices rebound, everyday life on U.S. dairies.
After this, I'm going to retire. I'm old enough. So I've been doing this all my life.
May see more disruptions in the future. Reporting for agDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. Kudal says out of the graduates, 90% who apply for vet school are accepted. The university is not planning on dropping any of its vet degrees for now. However, some students are worried how they will achieve their large animal experience. I'm Clinton Griffiths. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more agDay tomorrow.